Hi, I'm JD, and what I'm going to do now is show you the connection between the distributive property and GCF. Now, GCF is your first step always when you factor. So what I want you to do now is I want you to distribute the 4xy and then reason through the GCF and see if you can do that. Now, what should happen is what you start with is also what you end with. So pause the video and see if you can do that. Alright, what you should have done was distribute the 4xy to each of these terms. And each term is separated by a minus sign or a plus sign. So 3x squared is a term, 2xz is a term, and 4 is a term. So distribute. So you get what? Well, you know what? Let me show you all the steps. So you're multiplying. So you're doing 4xy times 3x squared minus 4xy times 2xz plus 4 times xy times 4. That's what you're doing. You're multiplying each of those terms by 4xy. So when you do that, you're going to get what? You're going to get 12. You're going to get 12. And the x's, you can combine them. What's x to the first times x to the second? Yeah, you add the exponents. So the x cubed. And you're multiplying, so you can just put the y there. Now, what's 4xy times 2xz? Yeah, you multiply whatever you can multiply together. So what's 4 times 2? Yeah, it's 8. What's x times x? Yeah, that's x squared. And don't forget your y. And don't forget your z. Now, what is 4xy times 4? Right, that is plus 16xy. Now, let's think through what the GCF is. And let's try not to look up here. So the GCF is what? You do have a 2, and if it was a multiple choice test, sometimes they might put a common factor as well as the greatest common factor. And the directions state GCF, greatest common factor. So if you put 2xy, that's incorrect. It's still a common factor, but it's not the greatest common factor. So you do have a 2 in common. So 12, 8, and 16. What does 12, 8, and 16 have in common? 4. Now I look at x cubed, x squared, and I look at the x. What do they have in common? Well, this has 3 x's, 2 x's, and an x. Each of them has at least one x as a factor. And all of them have y's in common. So you pull out a y. Now, I wanted to show you the connection between the distributive property and GCF. Now, when you distribute, you do what? Yeah, you're multiplying. So with GCF, what you're doing is the opposite. You're dividing. So this is 12x cubed y over 4xy. This is what you're doing. Some of you just do this in your head. Oh, I'm just pulling 4xy out. But you're actually dividing. So this is a way to to almost double check yourself or like correct your thinking. Okay, how do they get from, here to here? Well, with the distributive property, you multiply. With GCF, you're dividing. You're doing the opposite. So minus x squared yz over 4xy plus 16xy over 4xy. And so when you do that, you divide each of these, you simplify each of those. What are you going to get? This is 4xy on the outside. 12 over 4 is 3. I have x cubed and an x. When you multiply, you added the exponent. So when you divide, you're going to do what? Yeah, subtract. So this is 3 minus 1, which is 2. This is y over y. Y over y is what? 1. So it just cancels out. 3x squared times 1 still gives you 3x squared. So that cancels out. What is 8 over 4? Yeah, 2. This has 2 x's. There's 1 x here. So 2 minus 1 is just an x. Y over y, that cancels. And you're left with z. And don't forget the last term over here. What's 16 over 4? That's right, it's 4. And then the x's cancel out, and the y's cancel out. So you're left with 4xy parentheses 3x squared minus 2xz plus 4. So if you notice, you use the distributive property up here, right? And when you did the GCF, you get the same exact answer. So if you know the connection, you can kind of see what you're doing in between. Multiplication with the distributive property, GCF, you're dividing. Also, this can serve to double check yourself. If I'm doing the distributive property, okay, what I can do to check myself is the greatest common factor. I can pull out on GCF and see if I get the same answer. Now, you can do the opposite. If you have, you're told to do GCF, you pull out the 4xy, what you can do is then distribute. You should be back to what you started with, which is this over here. And that'll serve as a way to check yourself to see if you actually get the right solution. So that's it.